When Barack Obama once reportedly said of Biden, "Don't underestimate Joe's ability to F things up," not even he could have imagined the mess Biden could get himself into. While inflation still runs at 40-year highs in the States, Biden has now decided to pick a fight with Saudi Arabia, all because he didn't get what he wanted. In July this year, to great fanfare, the president travelled to the Middle East to meet the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia, despite pledging to make it a pariah over its shocking human rights record and for its involvement in the murder of Saudi journalist Jamal Khashoggi. That was all tossed aside as Biden fist-bumped Mohammed bin Salman as he tried to repair relations between the two nations and to get the Saudis to commit to increasing oil production so the high prices would come down. What did the Saudis think of that? And by extension, Biden? Not much. Oil production group OPEC, with the Saudis as its de facto leader, decreased output by 2 million barrels a day just ahead of the peak winter season. Saudi Arabia is picking its friends. It seems the US is not one of them.
Do you think it's time for the U.S. to rethink its relationship with Saudi Arabia?
Yes, and by the way, let's get straight why I went. I didn't go to one about oil. I went about making sure that we made sure that we weren't going to walk away from the Middle East. We should, and I am, in the process when this House and Senate gets back, they're going to have to. There's going to be some consequences for what they've done with Russia.
What kind of consequences? Menendez says suspend all arms sales. Is that something you'd consider?
I'm not going to get into what I'd consider and what I have in mind, but there will be consequences.
But before that happens, the Saudis sunk the boot in. It confirmed a report by the Wall Street Journal that the Biden administration asked Saudi Arabia to delay the cuts until after the midterms to limit political damage if gas prices increased. The Wall Street Journal quoted unnamed Saudi officials as describing the move as a political gambit by Biden ahead of the vote. In an editorial, the Journal posed this point: if Donald Trump had asked the Saudis to delay a cut in oil production until after the midterms, as the Journal reports Biden did, Democrats would have accused him of inviting foreign election interference. The official line from the Saudis was that it declined the request and defended its output cut by saying all OPEC decisions are based on economic forecasts and needs.
Saudi Arabia is not siding with Russia. Saudi Arabia is taking the side of trying to ensure the stability of the oil markets, which benefits consumers and producers alike. We have been doing this for decades. We try to make sure that we don't have erratic swings in prices.
I've been critical of the Saudis before, particularly when it comes to its poor human rights record, but Biden ends up with egg on his face here, again. And I'm not entirely sure what the point of this escalation is. It'll upset the Saudis, it'll give fuel to his Republic opponents, and if pushing back is an attempt to blame someone else for America's domestic gas predicament, well, isn't that an own goal? Because all it does is highlight America's own vast energy resources, which, according to the American Petroleum Institute, includes about 90 billion barrels of oil and about 300 trillion cubic feet of gas that's still untapped. Biden said in a Washington Post editorial before that Middle East trip that he wanted to start a new and more promising chapter of America's engagement there. 3 months later, he threatens Saudi Arabia with consequences. And if a consequence is to limit arms to the Saudis, which is America's biggest customer and is something Biden has threatened to do before, well, that could backfire too, because maybe Biden has forgotten how much aid and assistance the whole Western alliance gets from the Saudis. According to the OECD, it's one of the largest providers of official development assistance in the Gulf region. And Biden should be careful with the pushback as relations between Russia, China, and Saudi Arabia become warmer and warmer. The then again, as Obama said, don't underestimate Joe's ability, etc., etc.